Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. We finished the Q&A regarding seeking knowledge. And wallah, there was a lot of very important lessons, especially us, in our time, in our age, in our place. Please revise and implement. This is the most important thing. And now we move on to the da'wah aspect of the Islamic awakening. And this is also very relevant and probably more relevant to us than the seeking knowledge side. Because we said a lot of the things to do with seeking knowledge, you're limited here in Australia because the mustawayat, they're not high. The levels, they're not high, unfortunately. And for the ones who, Allahumma barik, they reach a certain level, Australia becomes too small regarding seeking knowledge, and they learn the Arabic language and they go overseas. And then that's where the real seeking knowledge starts. But when it comes to da'wah, this is something relevant to all of us. This is something that we can all do and something that we all do and should be doing. And this is a great ibadah. And the da'wah aspect can be, as we spoke about so many times, بَلِّغْ عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Convey from me, even if it's one verse. If it's one hukum, one ruling, something's fard, something mustahab, something's haram, you advise someone, it should be done. Your wife, your children, you need to give them da'wah. Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your uncles, your aunties, your friends, your relatives, people in the masjid, people out in the open, wherever it may be, if you're able to give da'wah, then we should be giving da'wah even if you have a small amount of knowledge. This, from today and onwards, inshallah, until the next chapter, a lot of it will be matters that the Shaykh rahimahullah spoke about and that's compiled to do with da'wah. Some things we've already spoken about, some things will be new. That which we spoke about, we'll just go over quickly as usual. But that which is new, inshallah azza wa jal, we'll spend a bit of time on. Tafadhal.
Chapter 4. The means of performing da'wah to the way of Allah. 1. The means of performing da'wah to the way of Allah. Here I am referring to the means through which the da'i conveys his message to others. These means are of three kinds, with each kind having an advantage that is specific to it. Number 1. Direct verbal communication. The da'i meets those he is inviting, speaking to them face to face, clarifying to them his message, and pointing out the benefits of embracing that message, and the good rewards achieved by doing so. Rewards that are palpable now, in this world, and rewards that are promised for the hereafter. The advantage of performing da'wah in this manner is that the da'i is able to assess the extent to which others are open to accepting his da'wah. For example, by the expressions on their faces, so that he can deal with them in a manner that is suitable to their situation. He is able to discuss matters with them, and through the flow of the discussion is best able to convince them of the truth, which makes this form of da'wah more effective than the following forms.
طيب. The first way of giving da'wah, and these are general manners, and this is not specifically from the Sharia, this is from the reality that we live in. The first form of giving da'wah is face to face. Open, you're sitting now, I'm speaking, you're listening. And this is obviously the asr, and this is the best way to give da'wah. Why? Because you're able to see the person, you're able to see their reaction. You're able to see, are they falling asleep? Are the people getting tired? Are the people being convinced by what you're saying? So you know to change or to stop your style accordingly. And this is something that needs to be done, and it's something that personalizes the message. When we speak about the other two the points or ways of giving da'wah, it's not personalized. And whether it's through a book or it's through online methods or whatever it may be, there's no personal interaction. And so the message, even though it might be received, it doesn't have that special touch that only face-to-face can give. When you're face-to-face with people, this is something special. And when we speak about how da'wah can be performed, and we speak about that personal interactions with others, this is going to be very important. Because as human beings, one of the things that we need for our own health, our own mental well-being, is the interaction with others. This is something that we need. So when you give da'wah and you have this human touch to it, this is something that people accept and something that people appreciate. So this is the most important, and this is the asl. This is the main way da'wah is given. They have other ways of giving da'wah.
Number 2, indirect verbal communication, as occurs through the medium of the radio. The advantage of using this means of performing da'wah is that one is able to reach out to a wider audience, than one would have if he went out to speak to people face to face.
Yani obviously at the time of the Shaykh, rahimahullah, the main thing that was around to get the message across was the radio. And even TV wasn't that big, especially in terms of the Islamic da'wah channels. There wasn't that many at all. The main way was the radio. Nowadays we add on to the radio, TV, you add on to social media, etc. And this is also important if the da'i can control it, for the da'i to be on. If the da'i can control it, he knows he's not going to fall into fitna, inshallah. He believes that he can be of benefit, etc., etc., etc. Then this is important for us to give da'wah upon. Why? Because that's where the majority of people are. Now we have 20 people sitting in the lesson and a little bit downstairs, but you have at this second hundreds of people within a 1 kilometer radius right now on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. Tayyib, as a da'i, your job to the best of your ability is not only to speak to the people that are coming to you, but also for you to get to the people that aren't here. There are some people that aren't here with a just reason. Some of them they're sick, some of them they're disabled, shafahumullah. Some people, مثلا their mothers, they're not able to come, they have to look after their children. So the only way that they can hear the message, they can hear the lessons is through social media or TV or whatever it may be. For you making it accessible for them is important. Then you have other people that, unfortunately, they don't come because of laziness or whatever the reason may be. But you do not know what one message they hear from the multiple messages they receive on Facebook or Instagram, whatever it may be. You don't know what may tick. You don't know what may, that one little thing that they hear that may make them change. You don't know. So our job is to, as we always say, our job is to give the da'wah, and then what? The results are up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at least you have done what's in your means to get to the people. Number 3.
Number 3. Writing by authoring books or articles in newspapers and magazines. The advantage of this form of da'wah is that one gives an opportunity to those he is inviting to take their time in reflecting upon his message. They can read his message over and over again at their leisure until they finally grasp its full force and meaning.
This is something special in writing. We don't write much, and that's our problem. Once we're in a big meeting, and one person sent a message by letter, and it was a few pages long. Sent a message by letter to the people in this meeting, and in it he was quite harsh. And at the end of it, the person that read the message, who is very close with the person that sent the message, said to the main person at that meeting, said, Shaykh, I don't think he meant it as it's written. I think maybe he was a bit emotional or he used some wrong words, etc. The Shaykh that was at the head of the meeting, he said 100% opposite. He meant every word that he sent. Because when a person writes, they know exactly what they're writing. There's a lot of contemplation when you write, especially when you send it as a letter. That's why you find a lot of people, when they want to send a message, they type it, and then sometimes you see they'll delete the whole message. Why? Because they know exactly what they're writing, and they know exactly how the other person's going to understand it. Sometimes they want to be rough, they want to be strict, they want to be direct to the point. Sometimes they want to be offensive. And other times they realize the way I read the message, it's offensive, but I don't want the other person to get offended. So I'll delete the whole message. A person, when they write, you're able to now see your thoughts. Sometimes when a person speaks, because his mind's so close to his mouth is so close to his mind, sometimes it comes out like that and he makes a mistake. But your hand, your mind has a little bit of time to get to your hand. As he's writing, he knows, this is wrong, this is right. You get rid of it all, you scrap it, etc. Different to words. Words, once it comes out, you can't get it back. If you write something, if you want to delete it, edit it, get rid of it, you can. Writing is also very good, and it's also very important, especially for the Muslims to be involved in the public sphere. In the media and all of these things, the media is not something to be belittled. Even in da'wah, even if it's simply not to promote Islam, but to defend Islam, the media is very important. Writing, shows, whatever it may be. Why? Because this is where Islam gets attacked the most. And the media is what sets public opinion. What do the people think? When racism goes up or attacks against Muslims goes up, usually it's on the back of what? It's on the back of bad media, bad publicity. Tayyib, how are you going to combat that? By giving a khutbah? Tayyib, you're giving a khutbah to the Muslims that they're not impacted by that. It's the non-Muslims you need to get to. How are you going to get to them? Very important for the Muslim to be in the public sphere. For the brothers who, mashallah, they're eloquent, the brothers who, they're cultured, for them to get involved in media, even if it's in the opinion pieces, wallah, this is very, very, very important. Very important. And it should be done. Because, as we mentioned, this is where you're going to get the non-Muslims. But also, in books, pamphlets, all of these things are also very important. And sometimes, if you are struggling with a person to give them da'wah verbally, sometimes it's best to get something that's written and give it to them. Because, see the first thing that we spoke about, that personal interaction, sometimes you're not the right person to speak to them. Because you're their brother that they hate, or you're their son that they look down upon you. So when it's that personal interaction, they don't want to hear the message from you because it's from you. But if it's in a form of a pamphlet, there's no personal interaction. They take the information as it is. So this is another very good and important ways of giving da'wah. So these are three general ways: the face-to-face da'wah, the verbal but not face-to-face, like online, social media, radio, etc., and to do with writings. And all of them are important. All of them are important. Which one should be given most importance? Which one should be given most importance? Face to face? Are you sure? Most needed. Most needed. Now, most needed. Why? Because firstly, you as a da'i, your job is to fix and to give da'wah to that which is most important in the best way possible. If the best way possible is through those other means and other means, you don't neglect one without the other. You don't leave the message altogether. You don't do that. But if you know that, in terms of writing, you're giving da'wah and it's benefiting 15 people in the masjid, but you defending Islam will save thousands of people, then that's very important to do. And if you live in a country where, for example, it's the exact opposite, where, mashallah, there's millions of books being printed, you don't need to go and write another book. A Shaykh that I'm in close contact with, and we were just speaking last week, he said, we're just talking about da'wah in general. He goes, alhamdulillah, he goes, I know if I wanted to, I could print a book every 2 months. And I'll write a book and print it, write a book and print it. He goes, but where I am, he goes, people are not in need of books. People are in need of da'wah, they're in need of tarbiyah, where he is. So he goes, it's not of benefit. What am I going to add that these people don't? I need to spend my time dealing with the people, sitting with the people, correcting their mistakes, etc., etc., etc. So you need to look what's the most beneficial in your place, in your area, at your time, and so on and so forth. A question, and this is an academic question, so you have to reply back academically. The Prophet ﷺ, he gave da'wah, he wrote letters, he sent letters to kings and to leaders, etc. He gave da'wah face to face, but he never gave da'wah on radios or TVs, etc. You have some people, it's very silly, but you have some people that come and say, you guys, you always said bid'ah, kullu bid'atin dalala, every innovation is misguidance. Tayyib, this is a bid'ah. This is a bid'ah. The Prophet never gave da'wah on a radio or on TV or on social media. So what you're doing is bid'ah. How do you reply back to them? Academically. We can say, Habibi, anta, Allah yahdik, you got no idea about anything, go away. But he's not going to be convinced by the answer. He's going to say, you don't have an answer. Say, you're wrong. You know you're wrong. You and your Shaykh are wrong. Give him a proper academic answer.
It's just the means, Shaykh.
Jayyid. This is a means, a wasila. The wasail, the means to achieve a ibadah, the bid'ah doesn't really come into this. The bid'ah doesn't really come into a wasila. So where does the bid'ah come? You have a ghaya, you have a wasila. A ghaya, you have the aim, the goal, which is what you want to achieve. Then you have the wasila. Any way which is halal to achieve is allowed. Example. The aim, the ghaya is to give da'wah. How do we give da'wah? Are there any specific rules on how to give the da'wah? Well, as long as it's halal, it's allowed. As long as it's halal, it's allowed. For example, seeing the moon. Seeing the moon on La ilaha illallah. For Ramadan, the hilal. Okay? Can we use a telescope or we have to see it with our eye, or can we use a telescope, etc.? Use a telescope. Why? Because it's part of the means. It's part of the means. The bid'ah doesn't come in here. It's as long as you see the hilal. You see the hilal with your eye, a telescope, no issue, inshallah. The prayer times, we have to pray at dhuhr time. You can't pray before dhuhr. You can't pray at asr before asr. How do we know when dhuhr time, asr time is? if you use it for to calculate what time dhuhr is, what time asr is, and use the prayer calendar, is it an issue? It's not an issue. Why? Because these just means to achieve praying on time. Any of the means to achieve it, as long as it's halal, then it's not an issue. Unless the means is the ibadah itself, and that's another issue. But this is very simply how to reply back to these people, because they always say it. Using the microphone. Bid'ah or not bid'ah? I mean, it's not bid'ah. Why? Because this is a means of people hearing my voice. This is not the ibadah itself. When a person, when they used to build the minarets and give the adhan from the top of the minaret. Bid'ah or not bid'ah? Not bid'ah. Why? Because the ibadah is making the adhan and getting your voice as far as possible. That's the ibadah. How to achieve that? Whether it's through microphone, speakers, a person standing at the top so everyone hears him. These are means to the ibadah, and the bid'ah doesn't fall into there, generally speaking. Allahu A'lam.
Number 2, how to perform da'wah to the way of Allah. The first matter, how to express one's message. One should vary the way he phrases his message, changing it to suit the situation of the people he's inviting. In this sense, there are 3 situations.
Again, notice how every situation is specific. Da'wah is the means. Achieving the da'wah is the goal. How to achieve that goal differs. On what? On the situation in which you're in. A person cannot expect what works with Abdurrahman to work with Zahir. What works with Zakaria is going to work with Ziyad. Can't expect that. And the people that have that type of mindset, this is a big issue. Because that arrogance is not going to get you very far in da'wah. Why? Because remember we spoke right at the beginning, you're dealing with human beings. And every human being is different. So if I want every human being to be like me, or every human being to be like Fulan min al-nas, I'm gonna have big problems in my da'wah. And some brothers have this. Some brothers, because you can tell them, brother, what's that? This is haram. What's wrong with you? And you can be rough with him, no problem. He'll accept it. He wants the other person who's the most sensitive person in the world to also be like that. He's like, bro, I told him it's haram and he didn't get upset with me. I don't care, I'm giving him da'wah. He accepts. He's like Jahannam, that's up to him. But you can't be like that. Sometimes you have to go up to someone and give him a rose and a kiss on the cheek and say, brother, please, jazakallah khairan, Allah barik feek ya Rab, and give him, and then at the end, after 5 minutes of pampering him, tell him, brother, this is not allowed Islamically. And he says, jazakallah khairan. But if you come to him rough, he won't accept it. And the other person, if you give him a rose, as soon as you give him a rose, he's going to push you away. But different people are different. And the Prophet ﷺ was the best example of that. He treated everyone according to the way they should be treated. And didn't expect everyone to be exactly like him, or didn't treat this person like that person. Long. 3 situations.
The first situation, the one he is inviting desires what is good and is ready to accept the truth, but he is ignorant of what the truth is. In the case of this person, it is enough to simply invite him. For instance, by saying, This is from that which Allah and His Messenger prohibited, so stay away from it. Because he has a desire to follow the truth, he will be quick to accept it when it is presented to him.
This is a person, and we should all try and aim to be from this person. As soon as the truth is presented, sama'na wa ata'na. This person, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, he's your easiest customer. That customer that comes and he's already ready to buy. He just wants you to tell him, which one do I buy? This one's the best one. Khalas, I paid for it. Doesn't matter what the cost is, doesn't matter what color it is, khalas, it's bought. Because he's already come with the mindset, sama'na wa ata'na. Same thing in the deen. There are people like that, Allahumma barik. In the deen, that's how they are. Shaykh, just tell me what's right. Is that right? Yes. Some brother that told you, Shaykh, don't go left or right, don't be great, give it to me straight. Yes, good or not? You tell him, good, alhamdulillah, done. Bad, no problem. These are your easiest people to do with, and this is something that we should all aspire to be like. And it's sama'na wa ata'na. But is everyone like this? Of course not. Of course not. So you can't treat everyone like that. Some people, I've heard some people, brothers, when someone is not like this, they say, are you munafiq? They say, are you munafiq? Because this is what the munafiq used to do. They always argue with the Prophet ﷺ. I'm telling you the hadith and you're saying, I don't want to. You're a munafiq. And in the munafiq, fi dark al-asfali min al-nar. Allah said that the munafiqeen are in the lowest pits of the hellfire. So you, my friend, are going to Jahannam. Do you want to go there? No. Then stop. It's not necessarily a munafiq. Yeah, he's not the most religious person. Doesn't make him a munafiq straight away. He's not rejecting The Prophet ﷺ, implementation and belief are two different things. Implementation, the actions and the belief are two different things. Now, yes, المنافقين في درك الأسفل من النار. This is when the person actually is a munafiq. He's a kafir inside, but he shows his Islam. Not a person who's a Muslim, but he's a weak Muslim. This person's something else. We go to the second or the third category.
The second situation, the one being invited is either lazy in following what is good or desires to follow what is evil. For this kind of person, it is not enough to simply invite him. One must also preach to him in a good manner, in a good way, explaining the virtues and rewards of obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the evil consequences and punishment of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثم كان عاقبة الذين أساءوا السوء أن كذبوا بآيات الله وكانوا بها يستهزئون. Then evil was the end of those who did evil, because they belied the ayat, proofs, evidences, verses, lessons, signs, revelations, messengers, etc. of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and made mockery of them.
So the second person, you need to go to a bit more effort. The second person, you need to do targheeb and tarheeb. You need to explain to them the importance of following Allah, following the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dangers of disobeying Allah, disobeying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You need to explain to them the virtues of seeking knowledge, the virtues of implementing your knowledge. Explain to them Jannah, the bounties in Jannah, the blessings in Jannah, and how to get there. Explain to them the fire, the scariness of the fire, the ferocity of the fire, and and to ensure to stay away from that, etc. And a person needs more effort. And this bare minimum, these are the majority of the Muslims. Bare minimum. You have the ultimate, that we said, the first category, and you have the next category which are worse. But the majority of Muslims are in this area. Some better than others, but the majority are in this area, where they know the Quran is right, they know they believe in Allah, they know they believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they have a deficiency in obeying the Sharia, following the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people, if you're, mashallah, you're religious, you're from the first category, be very careful to make a mistake with these people. Because a lot of brothers fall into the mistake of being a munafiq and what's wrong with you and do you even love Allah, etc. They fall into that mistake when they give da'wah to these people. They know salah is important. But he's got a weakness in salah. Then just tell him, you don't pray. Explain to him the importance of praying. Explain to him the greatness of salah in Islam. Explain to him the dangers of leaving salah. Explain to him the punishment for the ones who don't pray. Explain to him these issues. Explain to him these matters. And then, inshallah, there's a hope that he change. Let it sit in his mind and let him think about it. But just tell him pray, and he doesn't pray. And then you smash him after that. Allah's telling you don't do with him that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you. The Prophet ﷺ didn't do with them that way. Aisha radiallahu anha, she gives us the beautiful manhaj of the way Sharia came down. What did she say about the companions radiallahu anhum? If the first thing to come down was stop committing zina, stop drinking alcohol, the companions would have said no. La, they wouldn't have done it. But the first thing to come down was about Jannah and Jahannam, etc. So the companions were built. They were built with iman. There was fertile ground. It was fertile ground to accept the message of Islam. And so, because of that belief, because of that iman, because of that tawheed, because of that love for the religion, the want for the good results, the fear of falling into the fire, when the Sharia came down, it was simple for them to implement. Nowadays, big mistake, we expect that because a person was born into a Muslim family and he celebrated Eid for the past 20 years, that automatically now he's going to accept everything that comes with it. La. Shabab, we have a big problem that we live like kuffar. Wallahi, we live like kuffar. On a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis. What do we do in Muslim households that shows our Islam? On a day-to-day basis, what do we do in Muslim households that builds iman in our hearts, and builds iman in our lives? Do we sit down and read Quran with our family? Do the fathers sit down and teach their children? Do the mothers sit down and teach their children? What do? We do everything the opposite. We wake up in the morning, we get ready for school, we send the kids to school, the mother does what she does at home, the kids come back from school, they watch TV, they sit on the iPad, they play on the phone, they play video games, the dad comes back from work, he screams at everyone, and they're all going to sleep at the end of the day. What was there to build their iman? Salah, they don't pray. If they pray, the dad prays in the room, qada, by himself. No one wakes the kids up Fajr, they don't pray Dhuhr at school. They don't pray Asr when they get home. Maghrib, no one prays. Isha, maybe they pray when the kids are asleep. Salatul Jumu'ah, the kids until year 12, he's still never been to Salatul Jumu'ah. Imagine. Until the age of, until year 12, you're 18 years old. Some students have never been to Salatul Jumu'ah. Or they've been, masalan, heck, once here or there. Ramadan, they fast. But the Eid is like worse than any other day. The dad goes to work, the kids come pray Eid in their Eid clothes, then they go home and sit at home for the rest of their day. What is there about, they don't know Allah, they don't know Rasulullah, they don't know anyone. What's there to be in the deen? They don't have anything. It's like you're talking to a river. Anjad, it's like you're talking to a river. You're teaching someone from new. One of my lessons, it's sad, but to show you the level that we've dropped. One of my lessons, we were discussing, someone asked me a question, I can't remember what question it was, but I mentioned in this madhab it's allowed, or the former madhab allowed, something like this. I was speaking about the madhab. One of the brothers put his hand up, he said, what are the madhab? Okay, explain. Abu Hanifa and Shaykh, Malik, he said, are they still alive today? And this is the question, are they still alive today? No, this is a sad, very, very sad question. That person, subhanAllah, him and his brothers, they don't come to the masjid. And one of the reasons, he told one of the brothers, and he goes, oh, I don't know anything. He goes, I'm embarrassed to come. These guys he's about 40 years old. He's embarrassed to come because he doesn't know anything. And the other brothers, they know. Sure, they're scholars about what? That they know that the madhahib, they're not alive today. To show you the level that we're living in. When we speak about Allah, go ask your average 18-year-old, 20-year-old. Ask your average 30, 40-year-old. Say, tell me about Allah. Speak to me for 1 minute. Speak to me about Allah. He's God. He sees everything. We have to pray to Him. Give me something. Why should I love Allah? Who's Allah? What does Allah do for me? What's the power of Allah? What does Allah have benefit? Tell me about Allah. Give me 10 names of Allah. Give me 2 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Allah? There's nothing. We don't know. And then when we get to it, when we start to say, pray. Why don't you pray in the masjid? Why don't you get Jumu'ah? Why don't you give zakah? You haven't been to Hajj, what's wrong with you? They don't know. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. We have to be very careful. We're talking to people like reverts. The back to basics course that we've done here, for the brothers that attended. Remember, we said at the beginning of the course, Aslan, that course was translated for reverts. That course was translated for reverts at the beginning. It's, for example, what breaks the wudu? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How to pray, step 1, step 2, step 3. The most basic thing. The only people I've ever taught it to are Muslims. I've taught it to, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, now hundreds of Muslims. Walillahi alhamd. My favorite course to teach. I've taught, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, to hundreds of Muslims, and all of them, it's like they learned their deen from new. It's like they learned their deen from new because they were never taught. Alhamdulillah, now we have Muslim schools saying it's a bit better. No, it's much better, alhamdulillah, now. But the reality is the vast majority of the parents and the personal life that these kids live is one like this. You can't just go up to them and say, do this. Very rare. Very rare. Allah musta'an. You have to explain, you have to give them, you have to motivate them to do the good. Number 3.
The one being invited is opposed to the truth, not only being inclined towards evil, but arguing in its favor as well. It is not enough to preach to and invite such a person. Rather, one needs to debate with him in a way that is better in argument and better in clarification of the truth, so as to completely disprove his claims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicated these 3 situations in His saying, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasanah wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." Invite mankind, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the way of your Lord, that is Islam, with wisdom, that is the divine inspiration and the Quran, and fair preaching, and argue with them in a way that is better. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, people are of 3 kinds. 1, those who acknowledge and follow the truth. These are the people of wisdom. 2, those who acknowledge the truth but do not apply it. These people need to be admonished into applying it. And 3, those who do not acknowledge the truth. These people need to be argued with in a way that is better, because argument often leads to anger. It must be resorted to in a way that is better, just as one resorts to the best strategy and way when one is defending himself from an attacker. If one being invited acknowledges and accepts the truth after the da'i argues with him in a way that is better, then all is well and good. Otherwise, the da'i finds himself in a forced situation.
Before the forced situation. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Call them, discuss with them, and debate with them in the path of your Lord. Give them good words. But جادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Make sure you debate and make sure you argue with them with that which is better. The point of when we give da'wah and we get into a discussion, it's not wallah I'm wrong, I'm right and you're wrong. It's not a matter of wallah I'm the boss and you're my slave. It's about showing the truth. It's about showing the truth. If we're getting somewhere in the discussion, things are going good, there's adab, there's ihtiram, you're not shouting and screaming on top of each other. You're getting somewhere. You're getting somewhere in your discussion, khair wa barakah. If you find it's about to turn into a fight, then khalas, this is not billati hiya ahsan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specified billati hiya ahsan. Why? Because it's known that when people are discussing, it gets personal and people turn it into in each other's faces sometimes. And they think they're talking about deen. It's not talking about deen. This is the shaitan moving you both like puppets. Yes, there are times where you need to sit. It's not just about explaining to the person. You need to get rid of their shubuhat. You need to get rid of their misconceptions. Sometimes they'll bring doubts. This other sheikh said this. You say it's haram, but you're not the only sheikh. There's another sheikh. And that sheikh says that. Tafadhal. What does the sheikh say? And let them explain nicely. And then explain back. Sometimes people will say the stupidest of things, like we said. One young guy, I remember, this is a long time ago. He said, my dad, because he's talking about the bid'ah people, us. Okay, like we say everything's bid'ah. He goes, once, there was a man, and the sheikh was talking about bid'ah, and the man stood up and said, Sheikh, but you're wearing pants, and that's bid'ah. So that's it, the sheikh didn't ever reply to it. This is the stupidest thing you've ever heard in your life. Na'am. But you can't throw that guy out the window. Shar'an, you're not going to get anywhere. Na'am. You explain to him, Habibi, bid'ah is X, Y, Z. The Prophet said bid'ah, the ulama said this about bid'ah. And let him, alhamdulillah, understand that it's not as simple as you stated. Now, it's not as simple as you stated. People, they say very silly things and a person can become very angry because we're passionate, we love the deen. So it's very easy for us to get upset at something that we love. But we have to have self-control, especially as a da'i. Why? Because when we get angry, what are the first thing they say? See, is that what the deen told you? I need to be a sheikh? That's the first thing. I need to be a sheikh? Is that what a sheikh does? Is that what I told you to be a sheikh? See, I'm not religious? That's why. What's the point of being a religious? That's how I get. I'm going to say, is that your beard? See, I don't have a beard. I'm better than you. Well, I'm not trying to be religious and I'm bad. But you're trying to be religious and you're bad. So you're worse in the eyes of Allah. And then the person gets even more angrier. Now, people use the silliest of mistakes. We have to be able to control ourselves. We have to be able to control ourselves. And جادلهم بالتي أحسن. If you find, wallahi, it's not beneficial or it's getting out of control, خلاص. وأعرض عن الجاهلين. خلاص, move away, as Allah said, move away from the ignorant. But alhamdulillah, you sit down, sometimes people need hours. Wallah, some people need hours on one simple mas'ala. Something is so simple, but give them hours. If they require it and you can give it to them. Because again, our job is to give da'wah. Don't ever belittle someone. Don't ever say, nothing's going to come out of this guy. Wallahi, you never know. You never know. This person may become a scholar at the end of the day. If they're interested, if they're discussing, it's upright, it's proper, khalas. Jayyid. There's some people, masalan, they just want to mock. They're sitting down, because they have a bit of knowledge, they just want to sit down and mock. And he brings up from this masala to this masala to that masala to that masala. So Hajj, we're talking about this particular matter. So why are you jumping around left and right? You have to know how to argue as well. Maybe in the future, inshallah, maybe, Allahu Alam, in the future. But even matter on the Islamic etiquette of discussion. This is also something very, very good and very important. Even ways to discuss. One of the biggest problems is sometimes you're discussing with someone and he takes you left and he takes you right and he takes you up and he takes you down. He doesn't want to argue. He doesn't want to get to a conclusion. All he wants to do is argue, doesn't want to come to a conclusion. So this can get you more angry. You just have to know as well how to discuss. You have to know how to discuss matters. But in general, our job, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي أَحْسَنُ. Very, very, very important point. Jayyid Shabab. Don't get fired up. If it's a proper discussion, Jayyid. Always make sure, to summarize whole art of discussing, always make sure your discussions are based upon something that you both agree on. Yani don't talk about what you think is right and what he thinks is right. How are we going to come to a conclusion? Are we going to put the Quran as our judge? Are we going to put the Sunnah as our judge? Are we going to put ulama from the Salaf as, who are we going to put as the judge? Because if you say my Shaykh and your Shaykh, then khalas, we're not going to get anywhere. Because my Shaykh says S, your Shaykh says Y. Khalas, there's no point in us discussing. So if you can agree on something at the beginning, like Quran, Sunnah, then you have something, you have a muntalaq. You have a launching pad that you can both discuss with. Otherwise, you won't get anywhere. And it'll just become argument. طيب, let's say you discuss with a person and the person khalas بتسكر معه and it becomes a big issue. What do?
Otherwise, the da'i finds himself in a fourth situation, which is indicated in the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْهُمْ. And argue not with the people of the scripture, Jews and Christians, unless it be in a way that is better, with good words and in good manner, inviting them to the Islamic monotheism with his verses, except with such of them as do wrong. Ibn Kathir, may have mercy on him, said, this verse, the end of it, is referring to those who turn away from the truth, choosing to remain blind in the face of clear proofs. Such people are stubborn and arrogant. In their cases, one moves from the stage of argumentation to that of combat. For such people are fought in a way that prevents and deters the evil. The duties of applying this fourth situation might not rest on the shoulders of the individual who has no authority. For vigilante behavior often leads to chaos, whereby much harm and corruption results. So in figuring out how to address those he wants to invite, the da'i must consider their situation. Are they or are they not willing to accept the truth?
جيد. يعني normally if it's up to the Islamic state, it's the Islamic government, يعني you can't even use Islamic state anymore. نعم. If it's up to the Islamic country, Islamic government, نعم, not يعني Asia, not the da'is, not them. نعم. Islamic government. If it's up to the Islamic government and you're giving da'wah to the Jews, the Christians, whoever it may be, and they're blocking the da'wah from being spread. Now, as an Islamic government, you can now fight these people. Because you've given them a chance to accept the truth. They don't want to. So now you can spread Islam, you can spread the Islamic governance by the sword. Now this is got to do with the Islamic government. طيب. And you're in a situation where they're not accepting. بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. You tried with that which is good, but they rejected. And they went against your da'wah. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Okay, what do you do now with the ones that oppressed themselves and oppressed others and stopped the da'wah? Now you have to assess as a da'i, what are the pros, what are the cons? What does the sharia want? How close can I get to the sharia? Now, for example, a person doesn't accept it, you're giving straight da'wah, a person doesn't accept your da'wah, what do? You can't fight him and put him up against the wall and say, you have to take your shahada now. This is not, it's not going to be very beneficial in da'wah. Not going to be very beneficial in da'wah. So it has to be assessed. Even, what do? Do you use harsh words? Some brothers, they get very, very, very confused in understanding how to put multiple texts together. They look at certain ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ used strength in giving da'wah. And they reject other times when the Prophet ﷺ was humble in giving da'wah. And they can't say the situation that the Prophet ﷺ was in. There are times where, yes, if you have the upper hand, if you're in a Muslim country and you're giving da'wah, obviously you have much more authority in your actions than you do masalan here. Here you don't have authority whether you like it or not. All you can do is give da'wah, is to advise. If they don't want to listen, what do? What can you do? Jayyid. Even unfortunately with people and children, they're limited in what they can do. For a person, especially there, he needs to assess the situation. What's going to be the best thing? Is it to khalas, as we said, وَعَارِضًا الْجَاهِلِينَ, to just move away from the ignorant? Is it to continue to discuss? Is it to, sometimes a person knows, مثلا, he can be a touch physical, not smash them, but مثلا is your son, you grab him by the arm and you sit him down and say, we need to talk, a touch physical, it's possible. But for a person to misunderstand the ayah then this is a big issue. Okay, for the da'i needs to assess the situation. There are people, sami'na wa ata'na, there are people, these are the majority. They need to sit and explain in good words, motivate them to understand the truth. And next week, inshallah, I think we're going to mention a very important point on this. Maybe next week or the week after. And it's a very, very, very important point to do with that, inshallah. The third is if these people, they want to argue. Their mind is set in a certain way, and now they want to argue. Khalas, sit down and argue, no problem. Discuss. As long as the discussion is bihtiram, with etiquette, with respect, and it's done properly, and you have a mutual ground that you can build the discussion on, and you aim to get to a proper conclusion, then khair wa barakah. But if you find it's just fawda, and left and right, and it's just arguing, and you're both getting fired up, then these are conversations you don't have. These are conversations you don't have, and always remember the intention is not to win the argument, but to show the truth for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And your job is a muballigh. That's your job. Your job is to pass on the message. لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُصَيْتِرٍ. You are not a controller over them. I don't need to get the person and force him to pray. That's not my job. My job is to advise him. He does, he doesn't, that's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We speak about the means of giving da'wah and steps in giving, or different types of people you give da'wah to. Inshallah, next week we'll continue. هذا والله أعلم صلى الله محمد وعلى آل محمد وصحبه أجمعين. Any questions, Shabab?
If a person is affected by one of these, like bad sheikh or something, is like sending videos about his sheikh is a good way. Like, let's say.
Okay, some brothers make this mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Depending on who the person they're listening to is and who the person is.
I'm sorry. Let's say like Ibrahim, someone like this, or
Yeah. Okay, so if someone's very bad, extreme mubtadi'a or ayadhan billah munafiq, like someone's extremely bad, then you send rudud of mashaykh from Ahl Sunnah, ulama Ahl Sunnah against him, yes. But what do some people do? Some people, they take someone who, he's 99% good, but he's got some certain things in his manhaj, or certain things in his aqidah, certain things in his approach to da'wah, which are a bit funny. The person's not religious, and this is the only person he listens to. Some people, they want to smash this one person. Ya Rajul. You get rid of the person that he listens to, then who's going to go to? Who's going to go to? He's not going to get, you want him to get someone better, Jayyid. But you never give da'wah and get something worse. Did we speak about? No, we didn't speak about it. We didn't speak about it. That you never give da'wah. We did speak about it. That you don't make sure that your da'wah never leads something worse. And we must touch up on it. But in da'wah, when I give da'wah, I want to stop something bad. This is a rule, qa'idah. I want to stop something bad. I can't stop something bad by taking it to something worse. I can't stop something bad by taking someone worse. Some brothers, he's not religious, but he listens to, masalan, a particular sheikh. I don't like because it's Facebook Live. Yeah, stop doing this. Not him. He's a different story. He's bad. But Mufti Menk. They listen to Mufti Menk. Alright, Mufti Menk, yes. Do you agree with I don't agree with 100% I say. How am I going to agree with 100% that he's saying? He's got some funny things. Jayyid, he's got some funny things. He's got some words that can be misunderstood, blah, no problem. Dave, the guy's got thousands of lessons that this person can listen to and benefit from. Love of Allah, love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, leaving of bid'ah, etc. Better person can benefit. They're willing to remove all of that because of 1 or 2, 3 things he said. Alright, we disagree. But this person doesn't listen to anyone. Let him listen to him. Then when his deen gets built up, then okay, we can explain to him what's right, wrong. You can use that to get him to the mashaykh that you believe are right. But then you don't insaf al-arad fi and then say, like in 2 weeks' time when he's back on drugs and alcohol, I wonder what, subhanAllah, man, he's going backwards. Man, you're the one that pushed him backwards. You're the one that pushed him. A lot of brothers do this, unfortunately. If someone, okay, you don't agree with him 100%. Even in Sydney, some brothers do the same thing. The person is going to a lesson or a sheikh or a center, which wouldn't agree with them 100%. But they don't openly show their bid'ah, they don't openly show a wrong aqidah. They just talk to you about general stuff and salah, etc. طيب. But this person, if you get rid of that, is he going to come to your center? Is he going to get somewhere better? If yes, give him da'wah. But if you know he's not going to, and you know if he doesn't go there, he's going to go back home. Why get rid of that person in his eyes for? Let him go, let him build, and give him da'wah slowly. But if it's someone completely right off, then la, send the NRM. Any other questions, Shabab?
Is it, say like atheists, is that the only way to give them dawah? Because you can't really give them like debating for...
Why can't you debate an atheist?
Is debating the only way to...
Of course.
Like for example, unis, how they just bring... Because I don't see it benefiting, it's just people just...
But one of the biggest benefits when they get people to debate the atheists is what?
The Muslims.
It's the Muslims.
Yeah, the Muslims.
It's the Muslims that say that atheism is it has no grounds to stand on, no real grounds to stand on, because a lot of Muslims they fall for it because the propaganda for it is so big. So one of the biggest people that benefit are actually the Muslims from those debates. But also at the same time, you can at least get the atheists or a lot of the atheists to rethink. It's maybe things aren't as clear as I originally thought that they were. And a lot of atheists, they're not atheists because of belief. There's atheists because of emotions. Okay, God doesn't exist. Oh, done, finished. Now that means I can do whatever I want. I want to drink, I want to take drugs, I want to fornicate. No problem, because I'm an atheist. It's emotional. It's not like real facts. Why is it impossible that God exists? No, so when they get someone that comes and speaks to them, so a lot of them, they do rethink their senses. Even if they went from atheist to agnostic, this is good. Because there's a benefit. Or even if you gave them da'wah, even if they stayed atheists, but they didn't get worse, you still won. Because you delivered the message. Any other questions, Shabab? طيب سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Inshallah we'll continue next week. With honors.